right now. Listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 3 o'clock on the 18th day of October. I can't say that right. October. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Mac's World Live on a Tuesday afternoon. Tom Coates is always in the house from Consumer Credit of Iowa or Des Moines.
Both.
Of the world. Just the world.
Of the world.
New office branch opening in Mosul, Iraq today. And Frank and Bob and Chris and everybody's here, and I want to get right to our special guest, Sam Clovis, who is... Now, Sam, I want to get your title right. You are the coach. You are the national co-chair for Donald J. Trump.
That's correct.
All right. So Sam is on the phone with us. And where are you now, Sam?
Well, I'm sitting in the business center of the DoubleTree Hotel in Crystal City, Virginia, just outside of D.C.
And are you preparing for the battle tomorrow night?
Well, actually, I'm preparing for a different battle. It's all the debate prep is being done. I'm getting ready for an event tomorrow to discuss ag policy with a Clinton person in front at the National Press Club. So I'll be there for 2 hours tomorrow morning, and then I have a conference call in the afternoon with a bunch of the agricultural feed industry people tomorrow afternoon. So it's ag day for me tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is it's really kind of an interesting thing when they bring in these organizations, use the National Press Club and venues like that to bring in the contrasting views from the different. It's really kind of interesting. It's really fascinating to see how things work. So yeah, it's been good.
All right. Well, we love you back here in Iowa and miss your face and look forward to seeing you here. And, of course, if Donald J. Trump becomes the next president, Tom and I expect we want some offices in the White House.
Well, in line with the Clinton, we expect some quid pro quo. Maybe we can.
Well, there you go. Yeah, but, if that's the case, guys, you got to pay to play.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Hey, Sam, this may be the first time you've been hit with it. It's hot off the press. Have you seen what the National Enquirer's got on their cover coming right now?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Picture of Hillary, and Hillary fixer breaks ranks. Quote, I arranged sex trysts for her with men and women, paid off prostitutes, bullied victims from Bill's sex exploits. This is going to be, at least in this rank, a pretty big story. Have you heard anything about that at all?
Not at all. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, quote,
of course, what would you expect? What would you expect?
Well, quote, she ordered me to destroy Bill's sex victims, bribe reporters to bury truths, and paid for and helped arrange both men and women. Now, Sam, there's been some coming from Hillary's bimbos that Hillary has swung both ways with people like Vince Foster and different women. And now this is a new account coming from a new source here. So anyway, you'll need to buy the National Enquirer on the newsstands and get up to date here.
Not likely. Oh, no.
Frank, have you seen this?
Well, Tom, but it fits with what several books that I've read of the Clintons in the past when they were in the Arkansas's governor mansion, that it was basically Bill and his group on their side of the mansion, Hillary and her group on their side of the mansion, and then they shot evil looks at each other, seeing, judging who was on each of the other side. And so it was talked about that it was basically an animal house for all intents and purposes, and the two was basically all but divorced coming out of the Arkansas governor's mansion. Then all of a sudden they had a wonderful marriage going into the White House.
Well, and you saw the stuff of Sam. Did you see the story about the Bill's love child with the at that time 24-year-old black prostitute? Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have.
All right, that has the ring of some truth there. I've seen the pictures of both of them side by side, and of course the press has that off limits, I'm sure. But that's kind of interesting how he was delivering $700 a month in cash in an envelope to the woman up until I think it was the grandmother that confronted Hillary and wanted more support, and it got shut off immediately.
Again, none of this surprises me. I don't think it's the whole idea of what we deal with every day that we have to put up with this kind of thing, and I think it's really fascinating to me that we have come to this level where this campaign has been. I don't know, Tom. I mean, I've been, I'm 67 years old, been following politics for about 60 years, and I don't remember anything like this. I really don't.
No, and Sam, they say, well, Trump is such an easy candidate to demonize and so forth. But I at least can remember 4 years ago when a literal and figurative Boy Scout named Mitt Romney ran for the presidency, and they came after him hammer and tong, everything from hating dogs to not paying his taxes to bullying somebody in prep school. They did all they could to demonize him. So I don't think it's the fact that we have to propose somebody that's pure enough that they can't do this to, because they're going to do it to anybody, aren't they?
Exactly, and I think that's one of the things we're seeing is that no matter what the circumstances are, that we're going to see this kind of support from the mainstream media. And this is the other aspect of this. I was talking to someone this morning on a radio interview, and I really let loose on a couple of things, and one of them was the fact that there has been a total lack of responsibility when it comes to dealing with the issues, because people want to, and I think that what happens is they tend to want to get to the more lascivious aspects of a campaign because they're lazy. It's easy to report, and I think it's really we're not getting the full breadth of the media out there to do their job. To take a look at what ought to be a very simple factor in dealing with a lot of these issues. They ought to be able to go out there and dig and look at this stuff and connect the dots. And what's really troubling is that this apparently has not been the case. We have not seen the whole focus at all on any of these issues coming forward because they don't want to compare and contrast. Because if the mainstream media does that, then we're dealing with something totally different and a different dynamic. If you can deal with, this, which I think was appalling, the whole issue of the locker room talk and all of that. And I mean, it was bad. If my kids had done that, I'd have beaten them within an inch of their lives. But I talked this morning to some folks, and I said, look, this is a man who's quite different today than what he was 11 years ago, and a lot of it has to do with the spiritual journey that he's on. And Tom, you and Mac both, we have talked about this on a very personal level because you guys are good friends of mine, and we don't have any trouble talking about this stuff, is this whole issue of this faith journey that a lot of us are on. It's pretty remarkable. And some of us have been on that journey a lot longer than others, and I think in our case, we've been on this journey a lot longer than Donald Trump has, but I think that he is on that journey nonetheless. And I think that for that alone is one of the reasons that I've been more than happy to give him the benefit of the doubt on a lot of issues, is because I know he's a totally different person today than he was those years past, and because I've seen it. I've seen it in all these issues that we've seen it just totally different. So.
Sam Clovis is on the air with us today. He's live in Washington, D.C. on the Trump campaign. He is Donald J. Trump's co-chair, national co-chair. And Sam is a friend of our shows, lives up in Morningside. No, that's the name of the college.
Yeah.
Sioux City.
I live in Sioux City.
Yeah, Sam, we're really glad to have you say. We had a never Trumper on the other day, and she was a strong Christian and just couldn't bring herself. You've heard this stuff.
Sure.
And what I've said is kind of like what you've said. Yeah, that does seem to be a different man than what we're looking at now. I know I spent a little time with Dr. James Dobson back in 1998. Went out and did his show and met with him and always had a lot of respect for him, and some other religious leaders. Gary Bauer's another one that have come out and said he is a different person. He's a baby Christian. He still makes mistakes. You talk about that in the Bible. Somebody that is perhaps not even fully ready for solid food yet, but that makes him a lot different than what he was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And by the way, Sam, I think some of these physical allegations have a lot of holes in them as I've dug into them. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I think that it's been, it's really sad that we are at this point where we have, again, I think it's just laziness on the part of the reporters that they just simply don't seem to be able to bring themselves to do the research that they need to do, and that's really stunning to me. I mean, it's a remarkable thing that we have to go through this process. Some of these people are really good. I mean, they're fantastic reporters. I've gotten to know some of them. I've been disappointed by some. But
all right, Sam. Sam, hold on right there. We'll pick up on your disappointment with the press. What a perfect place to start. When we come back, live with Sam Clovis, Tom Coates, and the group, the bunch, the clan, the feral cats that is Mac's World.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock, 3:21 in the afternoon. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Max World. We do it every day right here, 3 to 5 in the afternoon. And we talk about mostly local issues and do a lot of politics. It's just kind of hard to not, be on a political slant right now with, 23 days away from the national election. And then, quite frankly, after that, that's when I want to look real hard at what Obama's going to do from the time that he's a lame duck.
Yeah,
I think you're going to see a lot of stuff going on.
We've seen too much already. No doubt we'll see more.
Sam Clovis, who is Donald J. Trump's co-national campaign leader, is live in Washington, D.C., and he's on the phone with us. And I had to interrupt you, Sam, because we were heading into a break, but you were talking about how Donald Trump is a baby Christian, my words, not yours, and that you just wish that the national media would cover it correctly rather than continue to talk about what he may have been like 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I agree, and I think that that's really been one of the great, as I've said many times, great revelations for me is getting to know him, is to see him on this journey. And I mean, and to have the opportunity to talk to him about his faith and about how he came to this. And I really think he's a guy I think a lot of times would be, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve. And I don't think he's not very comfortable talking about it. I don't think any of the three of us have any difficulty talking about our faith, particularly when we're asked about it, because I think it's really important for us to be able to give our testimony and witness the way we do. He's just not comfortable doing that yet, and I think that there'll be a time when he will. But away from his businesses a little bit. When his grandchildren came, he had the opportunity to step away, and he had a chance to see how all of his tens of thousands of employees were, no matter what he did to help with their pay and their education and all the other aspects, the benefits that he offers his employees, they just weren't getting ahead. And I think that's one of the reasons he decided to run for president. And I really think if you get to know the individual, and it's not reported that way, and I think that's really one of the great tragedies that we have to deal with, is the fact that we just don't seem to be able to get the word out about what kind of person he is. And I think a lot of it has to do with the media just not being responsible or really choosing not to report it.
Well, Sam,
the decision they make is they just choose not to report.
Well, Sam, the story came out today that 96% of the money the journalists have given to a campaign, surprise, surprise, went to Hillary Clinton, almost $400,000. That means that 4% of the journalists were actually contributing to Trump's campaign. Let me ask you along that line. There was what we call the Brexit situation over in Great Britain earlier this year. I draw some real parallels there, and I watched that thing fairly close, and the polls were showing all the way up until Election Day over there. There wasn't any need for the people that wanted to exit the EU to go out and vote. And even as the polls closed, the leader of the movement came out and gave a concession speech, only to find out a few hours later that, lo and behold, they had won. They had exited. In fact, the island of Great Britain had voted pretty strongly to go ahead and exit because of the immigration issues. But my point here in bringing this up, Sam, I'm wondering if the polls, now there's two considered outlying polls. One's Rasmussen and the other one's in the LA Times, both large scientific national polls. The latest numbers out today, Rasmussen had Trump up 2. Now it's got Hillary Clinton up 1, all within the margin of error. And the LA Times that had him tied a few days ago now shows Trump up 2. Now, why is it we're seeing those two consistently showing a very tight race, up one way or up the other, and some of these other national polls showing tremendous way of leading for Hillary Clinton? I'm suspicious that we're being sold the same bill of goods that the Brits were for their Brexit vote, that perhaps at the very end some of them might pull back down to close to even, but it's done to discourage on the fence, Sam, and I wanted to get your take on this.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think you see a lot of, really what you see in negative campaigning is the whole purpose of negative campaigning is to suppress the vote. And this is why you see this, the incredible amount of effort out there, because I think that the left really does know that there is a huge affinity for Mr. Trump out there. And there are a lot of people who are supporting Mr. Trump that would never say so because they just simply can't stand, getting beat up by their friends because of their the zealotry that we find the people that support or are against Mr. Trump. But I think what you really are going to find out is that this is a very I don't know what that number is, Tom. I don't know if it's 2%. I don't know if it's 4%. But it's what I've been calling the undercurrent. There's an undercurrent going on here, and I think that this is really one of those things where we're going to be surprised in a lot of areas on Election Day with what happens with this vote. I think it's going to be a fascinating vote, and I think we're going to see this in a lot of states where things look like they're trending Hillary's way, and all of a sudden it's going to be too close to call, and that is going to go to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on the 9th of November. And I think that Mr. Trump's going to win more than he loses in that situation. So we're going to see a lot of dynamics on election night that I think are going to be very, very interesting. I don't know what that number is. And the big issue for me is I've been looking at these polls a long time, and I'm a closet mathematician and statistician, so I dig around on these numbers. I look at the crosstabs, and I've really been suspicious of most of the polling that has been done. And frankly, until we get within the 7, 8 days, 10 days of the election, I'm not really going to put much stock in it because I think we're going to see some late breaking things here, and I think people will shift their votes. They will shift from one candidate to the other. Simply because of the fact that there is a lot of people are saying that they're going to support a particular candidate right now. I'm not sure that's the case. I think they may be just saying that to get the pollsters off their backs. Polling today is so different than it was even 5 years ago because of the lack of landlines, the whole issue of cell phones, who uses cell phones, who answers cell phones. And so we see a lot of tilt when it comes to the demographics of what goes into this polling data that may or may not reflect the sample. And I will tell you, anybody that knows statistics, if the sample does not reflect the population, then no matter what you put in your poll, you can say anything you want because it's not going to be accurate.
Well, could it be also, Sam, that many of Trump's supporters have been outside the political arena for maybe most of their lives?
I think so.
Nearly half don't vote, and aren't those people not being proper? I suspect that many of these polls are flat out crooked, just like Hillary herself. Also, much Trump support isn't being measured because they're not past voters.
Well, that's it, because you're looking at most of the time, when you look at likely voters, you're looking at what we call 3 4s and 4 4s, and these are people that have voted in 3 of the last 4 elections or 4 out of 4 of the last elections. Those are the people who are normally polled, and what we have is people who may not have voted at all in the last 5 elections or 10 elections. Some people. And I'll guarantee you, if you haven't been to a Trump rally, there are a lot of people in those Trump rallies never voted ever. And this is their first opportunity to get a chance to become involved. And I think it's fun to watch, and it's exciting to be around. I just hope it translates to votes at the voting booth on Election Day.
Sam Clovis is our guest today. He's live from Washington, D.C. He is the national co-chairperson for the Donald Trump campaign for president. He lives in Sioux City, Iowa, an instructor at Morningside, a former Vietnam fighter pilot, right? I mean, basically that's what you were.
Well, in a past life, I was a fighter pilot. In a past life, I've been a successful businessman, and I don't know what I am now. I'm in my fifth. I'll start one of these days.
All right. Well, Frank has a couple questions for you.
Hey, Sam, let's talk about the debate on Wednesday night. If you think Hillary will even show up, number one, because there's some talk that it wouldn't. She thinks, some people are saying they think she's so far ahead she wouldn't show up, which I don't believe.
No.
But interestingly, at the last debate, she goes in the gutter. She drags up all kinds of gutter snipe to run against Trump, and then when somebody asks her about the picadillos of Bill Clinton or the email server, the illegal email server that apparently Obama knew about because he was interchanging emails with her.
Yep.
She always says, well, as Michelle Obama says, when they go
my
low.
Friend Michelle Obama.
My friend, of course, and we know the two hate each other. Supposedly, Michelle calls her the Hildebeest. But when Michelle says they go low, we go high. That's just a bunch of baloney, Sam. And I hope Trump calls her on it, or at minimum, Chris Wallace calls her on it. But do you have hope for any of that to happen?
I do. I think, one of the things I think a lot of us have been working with Mr. Trump or making inputs. It's very difficult right now with the intensity to get a slice of time. And I have a portfolio that is rather expansive, and so I spend a lot of time doing a lot of other work. And so when I'm asked, I typically say, okay, what is it we need to look at? And so I'll I'll send some bullet points up through the chain of command and say, hey, this is where we are. And I have pretty good access. And so when I make my inputs, they're very direct and very to the point. And I think what a lot of us would like to see is that if Chris Wallace or anybody else wants to go and talk about the licentious aspects of anything, or to try to drag him off into talking about this personal stuff that he says, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here, the American people. You owe the American people. I owe the American people a discussion about the policy of the nation for the next generation. And if you are not here to talk about that, I'm going to stand here at this podium and you can talk to Mrs. Clinton about all this stuff all you want. But until you start talking about the policy issues, then I'm just not part of the conversation.
That's right.
And I think that's exactly what he ought to do. And I'll tell you, trust me, he knows how to do that. He is, and I think that one of the things we're really looking for here is for him to take that stand and to be very direct and say, hey, we're not moving off of this stage until we talk about these issues.
Well, that's right, Sam. But I think the distinction needs to be made and clearly pointed out that we don't necessarily care per se what Bill Clinton done.
But he's not running for president.
It's the fact that Hillary Clinton claims to be for women, and she covered up for it and come down hard on the women, calling them all kinds of names. That's the distinction that needs to be made.
Absolutely, I agree, but I don't think we need to get into to me that's not nearly as important, and I'm not downplaying it, but it's not as important as making her talk about how she's going to pay for her tax plan.
Well, you're right, Sam. The policy issues, I've seen some recent polling. The policy issues are with us. The majority of American public support Donald Trump's policies if we can get there, right?
That's exactly right. Because just think about what we're going to talk about.
Hey, hold on, Sam. Sam, I want you to talk about what you're going to talk about tomorrow when we come back from this break.
All right.
You can talk about it. All right. Coming up on a hard break, Sam Clovis in Washington, D.C. He's the coach presidential campaign. He's with us this afternoon. If you've got questions, you can text them in at 809-0993. We'll ask the question to Mr. Clovis in your name. Thanks for listening.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the service manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect. No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
3:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Max World Live continues until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Hank, the Bible Answer Man, at 5 o'clock. We'd love to have that show, a worldwide show, and it's live. So you can call in and ask questions to Hank, 1-888-ASK-HANK. Tom Coates in the house today, along with Chris Roloff, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat watching the chat, and the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. Remember, first call bail bonds reminds you not to text and drive. Did I say Frank was here?
Yes. No, you didn't. But
I
that's,
didn't?
Well, you got to remember Frank.
Yeah, that's right.
Why?
You got to. because there's a call out there. There's a chant. Tom and Frank. Tom and Frank.
But didn't you just have a kind of a negative text here for Frank?
No, it was for Tom.
No, just put Frank's name in there.
Yeah, put mine instead. I don't care.
What was it?
Well, it's just a suggestion to take Tom's microphone away.
Well, who would say that?
I don't know.
A liberal that was fearful of what my words might mean.
Or it was your oldest daughter who's mad you didn't get her a nice birthday present.
It could actually be a number of people, couldn't it?
Yeah. All right, let's hit Sam Clovis up. He's on the phone live in Washington, D.C. Sam is Donald J. Trump's national co-chair, getting ready for the debate tomorrow night. And my question to you is, what are the key policies that need to be laid out in this debate, Sam? Well, what do we need to hear from Donald tomorrow night?
I think we need to hear essentially the big issues is dealing with immigration. Has been the bedrock of this campaign, and why that's such an important issue. Immigration, and then tie it in, and all these things are linked together. This is the other thing that we would really like to see is the linkages made between immigration and tax reform and trade reform, and why those three are very important. And if we don't have tax reform, we're not going to energize the economy, and then talking about security reform or national security enhancements or revitalizing our military become moot points because we won't have the revenue to deal with it. So we really have to, first and foremost, is to energize the economy. Let's get to 4% GDP growth for the next 10 years. Let's ignite this economy and get it burning out there so we can get past, so we can start to grow the economy past the debt, start to worry about a balanced budget amendment. And I think one of the things, the other thing is special interest. Mr. Trump has put out, I think, some absolutely outstanding discussions about special interest in the last 2 days. One deals with lobby reform and dealing with that, and restrictions on people who come in government and working in Congress. And the other is on the term limits for members of Congress. He is advocating for a constitutional amendment to limit the terms of members of Congress. Congress will never do that, so this may have to come from the states. So I do think that there is a movement, and certainly inside the Trump movement, there certainly is a feeling that balancing the budget and term limits are two of the big issues that ought to be addressed. And I think he needs to bring those things up because I don't think she has an answer for any of this. I don't think she has an answer that is believable for any of these things. And I think this is the big issue for tomorrow when I sit down and talk to the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture who's going to be representing the Clinton campaign, a person who's going to come in there, and I'm going to ask the question, it says, how in the world are you going to be able to explain to farmers why they're going out of business, why we're concentrating more and more industry in large farm operations simply because we have regulated them out of business? And the waters of the U.S. is a great example of that. This is an EPA rule. I read the thing today. I was absolutely aghast at the overreach of government in dealing with this, and the EPA is out of control. And we do not have any mechanisms right now, certainly because Congress doesn't appear to have the courage to go in and put the hammer down on these executive branch agencies that are out of control. And the EPA is certainly one of them. And then we have the land management issues out west, where we have the grazing and the energy and all the other aspects of this that would help create energy independence and more revenue for the federal government from land that the federal that we the people own. So why are we not doing that? Well, the reason is because of environmental special interests are putting the kibosh on that. And there are literally laws in place that make it almost impossible for us to manage the land appropriately. So we're going to fix those things when we get into when Mr. Trump gets into office, and we have the opportunity to fix a lot of these issues out here that are stifling our economy. And I think the immigration piece is critical.
Critical, Sam, critical. And there was a piece out today showing that 64.7 million people in this country are non-English speakers, at least that's their primary. That's up 5.2 million in the last 5 years. And the lack of assimilation, apparently the majority of the Islams are coming in here and voting for the Democrat. That makes them acceptable and wanted. But the lack of assimilation because the majority say they want to live under Sharia law. And I think that comes back to the issue, we need protection on our borders, don't we?
Exactly, and we need to have immigration reform, and if people don't want to come here and assimilate, then they do not have a right to come to the United States. It is absolute, utter nonsense for someone to stand up and say that somebody who was born in a foreign country has a right to come to the United States. They do not have a right to come to the United States.
A privilege,
they don't.
right?
It is a privilege, and it has to be earned. And it has to be earned through the notion that you're going to come here and contribute. And so we have some social engineering going on. It's been going on for 50 years out here. We don't want to be anti-immigrant, but we want to be anti-illegal immigrant, and because it is costing state and local government about $120 billion a year. And this is, and if we were to ever legalize or grant amnesty to that body of people, they would qualify. About 3/4 of them would qualify for means-tested welfare programs, and that cost would go up almost $200 billion a year and no state or local government can absorb that kind of cost, because we will bankrupt cities, we will bankrupt counties, we will bankrupt states, because they simply will not be able to pay the load. And because all of this cost is visited on state and local government and not visited on the federal government at all.
Hey, Sam, I think Trump has made the most traction when he's talked about trade, unfair trade in particular, and especially when he's tied Hillary Clinton and her husband's policies to the trade deals. Do you think that's the case, that Trump just needs to continue hammering on this trade issue? Because Pat Goodell, and I'm sure you know who Pat is, said that she is hemorrhaging support amongst Democratic blue-collar working class.
Right.
And they're all about jobs. Do you foresee any states that are blue states, particularly Wisconsin, particularly Michigan, particularly Ohio? I know Trump's up a couple in Ohio, and supposedly the Hillary Clinton campaign is supposedly foregoing Ohio. Do you think there's any surprises to be had because of this message on trade?
I think it was one of the reasons we're leading in Ohio. I think that there are the three states that I look at that are in play are Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And I think that we always hold our breath on Pennsylvania. We seem to always be disappointed, and the same is true of Michigan and Wisconsin. But I do think there's an opportunity for a lot of people in blue-collar states that will, and blue states that have been blue of recent elections, that we might do a lot better in. I think we have to take a look at New Hampshire. I think we have an excellent chance of winning New Hampshire. We have an excellent chance of winning the 2nd District in Maine. And people will say, well, why are those so important? Those are not very big electoral college numbers. I said every electoral college district or every electoral college vote you can win puts you closer to the 270 that you need to win the presidency. And if we win Iowa, and we can compete in Colorado, and we can compete in Nevada, and we can win there, and those are the places that we may see a different look of the map as we go forward. And I think those are the things that are important for us to win that 270 electoral college votes.
All right, Sam, you hold on. We'll come back 2 minutes, have our last segment with you. Sam,
you bet.
Clovis, live in Washington, D.C., here in Mac's World on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
3:50, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network news, and then we'll be back here live in Mac's World. We have Sam Clovis, the national co-chair for Donald J. Trump. He's on the phone. Rick or Chris, it's your chance to ask a few questions here with about 7 minutes left.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us. One of the things that was batting around here in the studio is this Evan McMullin gentleman. What does the Trump campaign think about him, and what kind of progress he's making specifically in Utah right now?
Well, I think it's it's a person who a never Trumper, and he's out there doing that. He's got that kind of support, and I just think people are they can vote for Donald Trump, or if they vote for anyone else, then they're voting against Donald Trump, and I think that you have to think about the consequences of that vote. If you vote for Gary Johnson or Evan McMullin, or you vote for Hillary Clinton. Then put it this way: if you vote for Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, or Evan McMullin, you are literally casting a vote for Hillary Clinton, because those are votes that could go to Donald Trump, and that's really we get what we vote for in this country. And if Hillary Clinton wins the Electoral College and she becomes the next president of the United States, we deserve it.
Let me ask you one other question, Sam, if I could. What's it going to take? I really appreciated listening to you talking about policies, talking about the real issues, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air. I personally am exhausted hearing about all this nonsense about audio on a bus, and frankly, I'm kind of tired of hearing about the WikiLeaks too, because our country's we've got a problem, and we need to fix the problems. What is it going to take, you think, for the American people in the next couple of 4 weeks here to really focus on the issues and the direction of our country, rather than all this media hype and spin?
No, I think this is a great question, and just indulge me a minute to give you what I think is a little bit more extravagant answer. I think what we're really faced with is people in the evening, when they sit down in front of their fireplace or they're sitting at their kitchen table having that last cup of tea or the decaf or the adult beverage or whatever their circumstances are, and they're sitting there with their significant other or by themselves, or they're in their pickup or their car, they're driving home from work, or after dropping the kids off at some place, or in the quiet of the night, they're going to sit there and have to make a decision. And that decision and it's going to be based on whether they think they're going to be better off with Donald Trump as president or with Hillary Clinton as president. And a lot of things are going to go into those decisions, and this is where I think a lot of times the quote-unquote soccer moms or the single moms or a lot of the mothers out there, I think the men have pretty much made up their mind, and they won't have much trouble deciding on what's going on. But the women, I think it's not an issue at all. I think they're the ones that are the security and the glue of the homes, and they're the ones that are going to make this decision. And it's really difficult for me to see how they're going to be able to choose Hillary Clinton based on the notion of continuing what has caused so much stress and uncertainty and suppression of wages and the lack of economic mobility and the lack of educational outcomes for the children. I just think a lot of these women are going to have a hard time pulling the lever for her, because they're going to say, we've got to do something different. And the different is Donald Trump. That is, he is as close to a third-party candidate as we've ever had in this country that can be successful. And I think that I really think in the quiet of the night, that's the decision process that will go on.
Hey, Sam, you remember when Ross Perot ran in the 92? And he had some 30-minute infomercials. I believe it was the night before the election. Would it serve Trump to come out and just demonstrate in a 30-minute type situation like that how the system is rigged, how it's the donors, how it's the special interests, how it's the lobbyists that get what they want by what they donate to the campaigns, and demonstrate for the American people how this is really done and how their jobs are leaving the country because of it? Could he pull off something like that really close to the election and be something a little unconventional?
Well, I think he's going to. I think I kind of get a sense of that. I don't know specifically that's what's going on, but what I've been able to pick up on the drums, over the network is that I think that that's in the works. And it may not be just one. It may be, one or maybe 2 or 3 nights where he will buy a half hour of time and go on there and lay out his case for the American people.
Hey, Sam, Sam, some of your background is military intelligence.
Right.
We haven't mentioned that, but I'm particularly interested. We haven't heard much on this subject either, but we hear through some of the channels that Russia is getting closer and closer to a major military confrontation with us. We see Iran and some of their surrogates taunting us down there. We see our backs being turned on our regular allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia, and things being really shaken up. How close are we? I mean, I even saw something that North Korea was threatening a first attack, nuclear strike on us and our allies. Are we close to some major military confrontations here?
I don't know that for a fact, Tom. I do know that we are, every time we show weakness, our adversaries take advantage of that, and I think that's all you have to do is just see what they're up to. And they literally are laughing at us right now. I mean, particularly Iran and Russia, they're laughing at us because we simply are not in a position or show no inclination to support our allies or support ourselves, frankly. So I think that they feel a lot more adventurous in what they're doing. And I think this, again, maybe it'll come down to if it looks like that Donald Trump can pull this off and he becomes the next president, I think you will see a major shift in behavior in those countries. And I think what you really see is the fact that they know that we may not come after them right now, but we will come after them at some point, and that we'll do it, and we'll do it well, and we're going to be able to make sure that we measure this and not put American kids in harm's way without it supporting our national interests.
But we do need to rebuild our military, don't we, Sam?
Yes, we do, and we can't do that if we don't have a strong economy.
Well, Sam, I want to I want to thank you for being on the radio with us today and filling us in. You know, you're always welcome here, and whatever happens after November 8th, if you're out and about in Des Moines, you're always welcome to sit in the captain's chair and have a little fun here in Mac's World.
Well, I would love that so much. You know, I really appreciate you guys, and I love being on your program. You guys, it's like home for me, and you guys are 2 of the best guys in the world, and I'm really very honored to call you friend.
Well, you are our friend, and we love you, Sam. You're a brother in Christ, and we so honor the work you're doing. And once all the microphones are off and the cameras aren't rolling anymore, I want to know how the sausage was made in the Donald J. Trump. You know.
I will say this: the airplane does not suck. That's the one thing.
I'll bet. I'll bet. All right, Sam. Thanks very much.
You bet.
Just be safe, man. We love you and we pray for you.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. All right. Top of the hour is Salem Radio Network News, and then we'll be back with Mac's World here live on The Truth. Yep, The Truth.